All right, we are back once again. I'm in my rather nice suit, and we have some interesting stuff to talk about this week. We got several topics in a very busy week in politics. Probably not going to get to everything we would like to get to, but we're going to try anyway. So we're going to be leading off with Julian Assange being arrested. We'll be talking about Ilhan Omar's remarks about 9/11 and the insanity of saying that speech is violence. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
Welcome to Micah and The Hatman on Politics Live. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and do something that I don't do very often. But I have a feeling that what I'm going to say might make a few people angry. So I'm going to let Hatman and the mods take care of the chat, and I am just going to talk into the camera. Julian Assange has been arrested. Also, real quick, Ricky Joya gave me $52.67 specifically to read or listen to Stephen King's drawing of the Three. So he wants me to continue with the Dark Tower series, and I'm more than happy to do so. I will pick up the audiobook afterwards, because right now I'm playing through a game where I can listen to an audiobook and play the game simultaneously. So let's go ahead and get into it, though. Julian Assange, we'll talk about the man for a minute. I am personally not really a fan. And here's why. Julian Assange admittedly has put out information and leaked information about some very evil empires. That was, kind of how WikiLeaks started, was they had exposed some elements of the United Nations' dealings in their own military, I think it was sexually abusing girls in the Middle East, and then the Kenyan government and other African governments as well, and the terrible things that they were doing. There was a point in time in Assange's career where then Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, gets involved, and we see the leaking of state secrets of the United States by WikiLeaks. My biggest issue with, and this is something I say about the Iraq War all the time, I was not against the Iraq War. I have had people try to convince me to be against the Iraq War. They have always failed, because I don't think that the argument's very strong. If you want to talk about the management of the war, you would be surprised at how much I agree with you. But us getting involved, you're not gonna see me agree with certain. You're allowed to disagree with me, though. I'm not. It is what it is. My issue with Assange is not his disagreement with the Iraq War or war in general. He is an anarchist. I wouldn't expect him to agree with war. My issue was the handling of the information that was given to him. The thing about WikiLeaks is they have a tendency to just flat out throw stuff onto the internet completely unredacted. It was not just the leaking of state secrets, but the fact that the information that was put out there that put American lives at risk, that is the main reason that I have a problem with him. It's one thing to disagree with an idea, and to put forward information that would show mismanagement or terrible things being done during the course of a war. It is another thing to put the life of an individual at risk, and that is where the issue lies. So, because I basically on Twitter yesterday I said, if he aided what Chelsea Manning did, directly aided him, he deserves to go to jail. And people got mad at me about that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We all say and seem to agree that Chelsea Manning is not a good person for what he did. Still biologically a man. I'm not going to play into the fantasy. If we agree that that's bad, if he aided that, wouldn't we also agree that him aiding it is also bad in and of itself? That's my weirdness about the whole thing. I think that some people, when it comes to Assange, have a cognitive dissonance because of the DNC leaks. And funny as it was what happened to the DNC, there, of course, were negativities to that as well. Hatman and I were talking about this beforehand, and Hatman, I know you read some of those documents, right? there was a lot of unredacted information there too, personal information, social security
Oh yeah.
cards, things along those
Oh yeah.
lines.
Well, yeah. I mean, even information about someone attempting suicide.
Yeah,
Like lots of things that a normal journalist would not report on or otherwise leave out. I mean, there certainly is an ethical issue there. There's really no argument in favor of publishing all of that information.
yeah, and I don't think I've seen one either. To be fair, I think that Assange, a lot of people tend to look at the good he has done and say he is a hero. I disagree with that. Do I think he's completely a villain? Not really. Again, I think he's an anarchist. I think that he does what he does, and I think that he has sort of a big ego and a damn the rules kind of an attitude. And that, when you're dealing with information, is dangerous and can hurt people. I think that we're lucky that there haven't been lives lost by some of the things that he published when he was allegedly working with Manning. And that is why he has been extradited to the United States, or is being extradited to the United States for things. Apparently, we knew about there had been negotiations to strip him of his status as being protected by diplomatic immunity by the Salvadorans, and staying at their embassy. Apparently, recently though, they had told him that he needed to cease basically running WikiLeaks. He needed to hand it off to somebody else, or else they can't protect him anymore. And he defied what they said. He started basically biting the hand that fed him, started apparently smearing shit on the walls, which is really weird. And, yeah. Needless to say, that was the final straw for them. They pulled the rug out from under him and said, out. And thus he was arrested. He will be brought to the United States and face trial here. He's not going to Sweden. He's not going to stay in Britain either.
No. Important things to note. He was arrested in the UK for violation of bail.
Mm-hmm.
And the charges in Sweden, which were, I believe, several charges of rape,
yes,
were dropped back in 2017.
Yeah. And to be honest, the rape charge was kind of...
It was very, very flimsy.
Very flimsy. And charges have been brought against him here in the United States. There's talk about trying to try him under the Espionage Act. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yes.
The big thing is the involvement with Manning. They've wanted him for that for a long time. I have a feeling he will probably end up spending time in jail, but it is a felony, but he's only looking at 5 years.
Well, there is absolutely no way that he will ever walk free again. He will either be killed or imprisoned for the rest of his life. I mean, they are going all in to put him away for good. It's not going to be just a 5-year deal, and that's why I'm really worried about the trial possibly being secretive. And we talked about this before the show started, and you said it'll probably be public because the Trump administration will want it to be public.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know that I trust the government to publicize this trial. And the obvious excuse would be, well, there's information in regards to it that would be considered tantamount to national security. And of course, that's their entire argument for charging him in the first place, leaking state secrets.
Yep.
But at the same time, hiding it behind as many curtains as they've hidden the indictment behind, which we only knew about because it got accidentally leaked in a separate case in Virginia, really, really concerns me. And of course, it gives ammunition to the conspiracy theorists out there too.
I think the main reason that I stupidly looked at the chat. Koopa's Revenge Home brought up same government that spent 3 years and millions of dollars on the Russia investigation, the same one that's going to try Assange. Okay, so that's kind of a false dichotomy. The United States government basically let Mueller do what he did, for better or worse, to clear the president, because they knew there was nothing there. So they're like, fine, do it, go ahead. Notice how nobody in the Trump administration even tried to get involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
This is different. This is something that the Attorney General will be directly involved in from everything I've read. And Barr does not strike me as the type who is going to try to hide this behind a curtain. He seems to have been brought in by Donald Trump specifically to start bringing things into the light. Now, at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody tried to kill Assange at some point between here, now, and then. Or if he died in prison, to be honest with you. So, we'll see what happens. I do, I think that at the end of the day, I would rather him be here in America than over facing trial in Sweden or Britain. He would never get a fair trial. I think he has more of a chance of getting a fair trial here in the United States than anywhere else in the world.
I don't know that really anywhere would give him a 100% fair trial, just because he's more or less an enemy to everybody. Everyone has some kind of gripe about him. Like, I'm sort of neutral about it. Like, I certainly appreciate the stuff that he helped leak about Scientology, the Peruvian oil scandal,
the UN,
of course the UN, and the DNC emails. That's of course the big one there.
Yeah. But
it's like you said, he's an anarchist. He is not on anyone's side.
Yeah.
He is on his own side.
Well, and ultimately that's if one makes the decision to do such and he becomes enemy of everyone, that's sort of the bed he made for himself.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I don't have a whole lot of hope that he will ever be a free man again. I'm half convinced that he's going to get killed. Somebody's going to do him in. I mean, he might find himself with 2 self-inflicted gunshot wounds to the back of the head.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I feel like it's a matter of time.
But again, I don't think that it would be a higher up government thing. I think that if somebody did it, it's probably somebody with a personal grudge, and there are plenty of people who do have personal grudges against him. So we'll see what happens. Again, I would much rather he be tried here than anywhere else in the world, because again, we have the fairest courts when it comes right down to it, and we have, as the president would say, the best people running things right now. So, but yeah, I have confidence in AG Barr, especially with the way that he's been sort of leaning towards the idea that he's going to start investigating the Clinton campaign and the Obama administration in regards to spying on the Trump presidency and spying on the Trump campaign and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Yeah. So
I just want to answer this real quick. Hardworld Entertainment asked, "What are the odds that he fakes his own assassination?" I don't think he's got the resources for that.
Yeah,
I don't think he does.
And not to mention, we don't live in 007 land. Like,
yeah,
is it possible he kills himself in prison? It's possible. It's hard telling. This story will not end well, but it didn't start well either. So
yeah, true.
Let's move on. Okay, so Ilhan Omar has stepped in it again because it's a day ending in Y. Oddly enough, not about the Jews this time, surprisingly. This time, downplaying 9/11. So she was at a CAIR event, and spelled CAIR. It's basically a Islamic relations thing.
Center for Islamic American Relations.
Yeah.
Or American Islamic Relations.
And not a good group to go. There's allegations that they have connections to Hamas, that they have allegations to Hezbollah, both of which, are terror groups. Mm-hmm. And one, of course, is a part of the Palestinian government. The other is a proxy party for the Iranian government. And she says up there that during a speech that CAIR was founded after 9/11. It wasn't. It was founded in 1994 to combat anti-Islamic sentiment after 9/11. Not true at all. And she made the remark that because some people did some things, that it was something along... Basically, her point, if she knew how to word things, or wasn't somebody who was sympathetic towards terrorists, she probably would have said there is no reason for people who believe in Allah to suffer the hatred of those who did this terrible act. If she was, actually a good person, that's probably what she would have said. Because there's truth to that sort of a statement. Because you shouldn't blame, in the same way we shouldn't blame, Christianity for fuckface, or blame Bernie Sanders for the guy who tried to kill Steve Scalise. We shouldn't blame look like every Muslim like they're about to jump into a plane and steer it into a skyscraper in New York. That's not how it goes. So, but that's not what she did. She downplayed pretty blatantly the biggest tragedy on American soil since Pearl Harbor. And as such, people got pissed. And for good reason. And her defense, of course, has been to double down on her statements. Not to play word games, not to do anything like that, but to double down. And she has continued to step in it since then. Somebody caught her in the halls of the House as she was going to her office and asked her what she thought the differences were between Barack Obama and Donald Trump. She doesn't really have a whole lot of good things to say about Obama either. And she basically said, Obama is a human, Trump is an animal. He is not human. It's like,
oh, I thought we weren't supposed to use dehumanizing language like that.
I'm like, oh boy, because that's kind of the same way she talks about Jewish people.
Hit the button.
Yeah. And of course, occasional Cortex has been trying to back her up as well, because Big Boss criticized her for good reason, and she tried to say that Dan Crenshaw didn't do enough for the victims of 9/11. Dan Crenshaw, who lost his fucking eye to an IED in Afghanistan.
You're going to tell that to somebody who got blown the fuck up in the war on terror. He didn't do enough.
Yeah, because he didn't co-sponsor a bill to aid victims of 9/11. Now, he's in support of the bill, he just didn't co-sponsor it. So not only is she wrong, she's a fucking retard.
She's absolutely retarded. And what gets me the most is the defense for this. Instead of, doing the adult thing and taking responsibility for the things that you said, the defense for this, that everybody is going down, occasional Cortex, fucking Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, she's going to get targeted with death threats. This is calling out her actual statements is incitement to violence.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes I wish we had a retard alert button.
Yeah, but because I thought to myself, it's like Cortez is what, 2 years younger than me, 3 years.
She's a year older than me.
So she's 29.
Yeah, no, she's 28.
28. So she's 5 years younger than me. So let's think about this for a second. I was 14 during 9/11. She would have been 9 years old. So when she was 9 years old and all that happened, so she probably barely even remembers 9/11. Some of my friends, who Crenshaw I think is my age. Yeah, Crenshaw is like a couple of years older than me. He's getting ready to sign up for the military because of what he saw. She was dancing around and probably listening to Britney Spears. It's like, lady, do not even. So it gets beyond ridiculous. But yeah, what Hatman brought up, they are now trying to say that criticism of Ilhan Omar is inciting violence. No.
Pants on head, retarded.
And it leads us into another topic about this. We're going to talk rhetoric here in a second, but it sort of ties into this. So Michael Knowles, who is a personality, I guess would be a good pundit for the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's website, and he's been doing speaking tours. A lot of the members of the Daily Wire staff, Knowles, Shapiro, and others, they do speeches for the Young Americans for Freedom Foundation, and he went to do one at Mizzou, and the lefties that were in the audience came in, did a staged walkout, which is whatever. They've been doing a lot of stuff at Knowles' speeches like that because he's a traditionalist. He tends to, do speeches that are... He's a troll, too. He loves his... Says that he was very trolly. And he likes to... He'll title his speeches like... And this one was, Men Are Not Women. People walked out. And then somebody tried to spray him with a super soaker filled with bleach. Now, it's one thing to hit somebody with a super soaker as a joke. It's another thing to spray them with something that if they swallow it, it's going to screw up their stomach, and if it gets in their eyes, it can blind them.
You realize if he was black, that'd be a hate crime too, right?
If it provided his last name was Smollett and he's really rich.
Oh.
So, this act was truly was despicable. This was somebody going in to give a speech about an idea, and then somebody saying, I'm going to spray a toxic substance at them. One of these things is not like the others. And what bothers me about all of this is that there's a conflation here that is going to lead into the next topic. And because I just want to bring up the Knowles thing really quickly. We have talked about rhetoric before on this show. My basic thing when it comes to language, which is something that I've always been very, very, very careful with my words and my word selection. Because words have meanings. And as such, those meanings have to be taken into account. Words have an effect. And when you sit there and say that criticism is violence or is equatable to violence, most people just use it as a method of censoring their critics. Let's be honest. Elizabeth Warren, Ilhan Omar, Occasional Cortex, they're basically saying stop talking. Stop talking, you're a right-winger, you're not allowed to talk. The problem with this equation, or if you equate these words to racism, or if you equate these words to something along those lines, you are basically saying that what this person is doing and the way they are acting is morally deplorable, morally beneath normal society. I have a theory, and I've mentioned this to Aiden, I've mentioned, Hatman and I have discussed it before, mentioned this to some other people, as well behind closed doors. I blame and still blame and will probably always blame the Obama administration for the current political climate. Because what we had with Obama, and I did a video on this about, I had a series of 3 videos that were about the culture war. And I don't remember the titles of all 3. I know that Hardboiled Entertainment's a big fan of them, so he could probably name them off the top of his head. But one of them where I talked about this idea of there were 8 years of portraying everyone who disagreed with left-wing ideas as sexist, racist, bigot, homophobe. Labels that make somebody basically be viewed as morally inferior.
Scarlet letters, if you will.
Yes, it's a very good way to put it. So if you do that, if you act that way towards people and you consistently drill that idea into someone's head, you're getting that information from people you trust, there is a reaction. That is part of the reason why Hatman and I, even when we get passionate, say, do not act out violently. Why we always try to make sure to bring up the sanctity of the individual. Because even bad people we disagree with, or people who are morally reprehensible, have rights. And it's not our job to try to silence them. I say, bring them out into the light and show you how bad they are. They don't believe that. And as such, we get situations like this, where people go out and spray, and somebody corrected me in the chat, that it was, some sort of a substance that smelled like bleach. So, if it smells like bleach, it's not good. It's not supposed to go in your eyeballs. Just a rule of thumb for those of you out there.
Toxic or no.
Yeah. If it smells like bleach, don't let it get in your eyes. But as it stands, this sort of rhetoric carries weight with certain people. And when you act like your opposition is not worthy of addressing because they are morally inferior, and you throw words like racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, inciting violence, things like that, you open the door for people to react with force that is not meant to be put into the situation. It is like crying wolf. And Antifa is a good example of those who listen to that cry for wolf and come running with sticks and bats because they are truly convinced. And Hatman can tell you, he read the Antifa handbook. These people are truly convinced that they are in Nazi Germany.
Yeah. Well, not Nazi Germany. Important distinction. They're not convinced of that, but they are convinced that a similar situation to Nazi Germany can arise at any time, as long as we live in a let's see if I can get it right. White supremacist, patriarchal, cisnormative, capitalist, fuck it, society. I don't remember basically the rest of it, but they want to tear everything down.
And why do they? What leads somebody to believe those beliefs? Well, they're convinced by someone at some point that everyone around them is a fascist.
Moralization of it all. And on top of that, it's posturing those beliefs in a way that nobody can possibly disagree. If you are part of those majority groups, those oppressor groups, then you will never be correct. You disagree, that is because you're an oppressor. If you're part of those, marginalized groups, if you disagree, that's because you have internalized whatever. You have been made to hate yourself. You are brainwashed, essentially.
Yeah.
If you are not, and you disagree with the rhetoric or any kind of ways to fight back or #resist whatever, no, you're wrong, because to be silent or to disagree is violence. Words are violence. There is literally no way that you can disagree with them and still come out looking like a moral or even a neutral person.
Mm-hmm.
There are two sides, and if you are on the wrong side, open season with the bike locks.
Yep. It's the whole right side of history argument. That's another one. And I was actually kind of glad that Shapiro used that in his most recent book as sort of a middle finger to the Obamas. Because the whole book is basically about all the things that the Obama administration were trying to say made America a bad place. Or like people at a college like Mizzou would say is some sort of neo-imperialist blah, 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 blah. Insert word salad here that has a lot of ists and isms in it. A lot of which are non-applicable to the situation. And this is where we're at this point. Now, thankfully, I don't see the culture starting to shift in a negative direction. What I'm seeing is that it's actually starting to get better on the ground level between just person to person, life feels less tense in America. But the fact that they're among the left, that this sort of rhetoric is okay to them, and they are willing to basically say, damn the consequences, really is frightening because of what it can lead to. Because it gives crazy people really bad ideas. And as such, they go out and they do terrible things. A lot of left-wing crazies out there. A lot of them. And we've seen a lot of people get hurt. On the flip side, when it comes to conservatives, you don't see a lot of that. And oftentimes, the people who do have that sort of idea, they tend to lose support. Notice that people started supporting Gavin McInnes a lot more wholeheartedly when he left the Proud Boys and started focusing on just suing the Southern Poverty Law Center. It's because he admitted that his original statement about violence working was not correct. And he probably realized what Hatman and I have been saying for ages. What did the Proud Boys ever achieve? I remember somebody in the Patriots Discord server, I got into a discussion with them. I basically said that I thought the Proud Boys were about as useful as tits on a bull. To use a Southern phrase there. So, and then when Trump had said to somebody to, punch this guy in the face, I'll pay your legal bills. Even though he said it as a joke, the fact that it happened later to somebody wasn't really, he recognized it and he stopped, Oddly enough, going back to the Gavin McInnes thing, is that his lawsuit against the Southern Poverty Law Center will probably be considerably more effective than starting gang fights with Antifa. So, but as it stands, we cannot sit there and say that rhetoric does not matter. I don't think words are violence, but you have to be careful what words can inspire. You do. But sitting there and saying that just plain old criticism is equatable to violence, it's a silencing tactic that leads to things that are considerably worse. It's what could actually lead to violence, not saying you shouldn't play off 9/11 like it was just another Tuesday.
Consider this. When you're not allowed to disagree with words, people start to disagree with fists.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our final topic of the day. We try to bring good news here, and we got good news. Hatman, say the thing.
Good news, everyone.
Thank you. Creepy porn lawyer is done for. He done did it.
Thank God.
Indicted on 20-some-odd charges, was it?
36. One more and it could have been 37 in a row.
Damn it, Michael. Can you fuck up one more time just for the joke? Please.
Oh, man.
Oddly enough, though, he will likely go to prison and suck 37 dicks in a row. But, no, in all seriousness, though, this guy who the Democrats were actually pushing like a serious candidate for 2020.
He was CNN's darling lawyer. They just loved him so much. He was all over the place, and everyone knew he was a fucking scumbag. And it turns out,
he's a scumbag!
Here you go! Oh, my God.
Oh, good Lord. And some of the stuff he did. Like, what started this whole process was he and Jussie Smollett's lawyer tried to blackmail Nike. That was the start. And then they started digging into him and they found more stuff.
I will never, ever get over the fact that he tweeted out, "I've got an important announcement coming about Nike," minutes before he was arrested.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, God. Fuck him. Fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
It's just...
Oh. I love justice being served sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And he hadn't been put away yet. But his career is over.
Oh, absolutely. He will... it wouldn't surprise me if he's disbarred in the coming days.
Oh, there is no doubt. He will absolutely be disbarred. Oh, man. Oh, this is... It's wonderful. Sometimes Schadenfreude is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this guy, of course, acted like his then client, Stormy Daniels, was going to be the one who got Donald Trump impeached. He tried to say he's the one who brought forward the sociopath. I guess they hang out together. Sociopaths and sociopaths. What a combination. I guess that's how Raider bands start in Fallout. But you've got all that noise. He brings forward this woman who's accusing Brett Kavanaugh of being a gang rapist, and people believed it. And by the way, let's say another thank you to Lindsey Graham 2.0 for saying that and pointing out the absolute insanity of such a claim on someone like Brett Kavanaugh, Captain Frickin' Milquetoast. Are you a gang rapist? No. And then he looks at Dick Durbin like he's gonna walk over there and rip his face off.
I love the fact that not even the Democrats that were up there would give Avenatti's claims the time of day.
Yeah.
Like, even they knew it was bullshit, and they were out to get Kavanaugh by any means necessary, but they were like, you know what? Too hot for me. Too fucking hot for me.
Exactly. Sometimes, folks, you reap the whirlwind. And it's happening. And I have a feeling we're going to have more of this in the coming year. I mentioned AG Barr. I wish I had set up a topic 6 before we go into the Q&A. But Attorney General Barr is apparently going to be investigating certain persons who were involved with the Russia investigation, with the FISA warrants against the Trump campaign, and so on and so forth. Meaning, he is going to have to investigate the Obama administration.
Investigate the investigators, and then the Democrats are going to want an investigation of the investigators who investigated the investigators.
All I can say is 2 words. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult indeed.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the Q&A for this week. I have to say, I do enjoy this black shirt, black suit, white tie look.
Yeah, I didn't put my suit on because I was eating homemade spaghetti before this, and I don't want to risk messing it up.
Yeah, Hatman pulled a Negan.
I pulled a Negan. Well, I didn't pull a Negan in the sense that, you know, I had some kid kill my men, and I brought him home and fed him spaghetti. I just fed myself spaghetti.
Yeah, we don't employ people for that. We employ robots. So it's much simpler. I'm like an Oreo. Goodness. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, though. I'm going to answer one question from the chat real quick before I pull, because this is one that's going to be interesting. Thoughts on Sargon and Dankula running for MEP? Well, we're going to have the chance to ask them personally. Because, for those of you who do not know, Hatman and I will be at the International Conference for Men's Issues. Carl and Dank will be there, and we do plan on having conversations with them. More than likely, Brian will probably drag all of us out to dinner at some point. So, and that'll be awesome. I'm really looking forward to getting to meet Carl face to face. I've never had a conversation with Dankula, but it'll be cool to talk with Sargon again. Be cool to meet Brian face to face too, because we're working on a comic book together. But we will ask him. We'll have a sit down with him probably at some point, and we'll let you guys know. So, but yeah, and we're looking at the possibility of doing like live podcasting at the event, because you gotta keep in mind Carl will be there, we'll be there, the Honey Badgers, like that's three podcasts right there. So, or three people that are several people that are content creators. So it's gonna be a really, really cool event. I'm really looking forward to it. Not to mention I'm going home to Chicago, and anytime I'm in the area, I'm always in a pretty good mood. So
now I got to go for the first time. So
yes, we are getting you pizza,
casserole, you mean?
And chili dogs.
Chili dogs. As long as there's no onions on it, I can't.
That's fine. Onions. Like, but no, a Chicago style chili dog is unique. We'll put it that way. But it's so tasty.
I'm down for it. I'm down.
One word: cucumbers.
I love cucumbers.
There you go. It's a very unique taste, but I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our patrons. For the Politics Podcast, Holy Ninja Toe asks, can we combat the anger that's rising in the ranks of defenders of free speech in response to the leftist war against it? The biggest thing that you can do is remind people that we are not at war. that is something we constantly tell people. We are not at war. And we should not treat this like war. If somebody acts against you physically, defend yourself, but do not seek out the same sort of thing that they are doing. If we acknowledge that and this is me using logic, how dare I, if we are to acknowledge that what the other person is doing is morally reprehensible, why would we want to do the exact same morally reprehensible thing? Point is to keep the high ground. So,
be Obi-Wan.
Indeed. Be Obi-Wan, not Anakin. Talon Silverbeam wants to know, for the Political Podcast, lawmakers, lawbreakers, let us fight them all. Why not? Because not all lawmakers are bad. So we just vote them out.
Not all lawmakers are lawbreakers.
Yes. Let's see here. Do we have anything from the emails?
Yes, we have a couple from the emails. Questionable Weeb friend Chris asks, if I had two good entertainment questions this week, could I sacrifice the politics question to have them both answered, or one ends up on the overflow? Well, if that's actually your question, no. Any extra questions will end up on the overflow.
Yep.
There you go. And Serena has a politics question.
Another love letter. No.
Yes.
That's going to be the inside joke now.
Oh.
It helps me sleep at night. Just saying.
Okay. It's a little bit long, but I'll get through it. It's not as long as the overflow one.
Okay.
Just wanted to say thank you. You really gave me a new perspective on life and made me realize that I need to keep trying to be successful despite everyone around me trying to enforce a victim mentality and keep me on the plantation, so to speak. Micah's words really did put my heart to rest. Thank you guys for making me feel welcomed in this community. And to answer Micah's question, I am into white guys, just not chubby white guys. Sorry, no offense, Micah. But I like being dominated by muscular white men. It's kind of a kink of mine.
I have muscle. I mean, I can deadlift 600 pounds.
Micah,
come on.
Just
trim the fat. I know. I'll
the fat, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, actual question. Wanted to ask, do you think that Trump or the American government will do away with affirmative action anytime soon? If not, why?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a political minefield.
Yeah. I don't think it's really up to the Trump administration to do it. I think if anyone could do away with it, it'd be the Supreme Court.
Well, or just pass a law. But
I think the Supreme Court would have the final say on it, though.
Yeah, that's eventually where it would probably end up. You're probably right there. So, yeah, I just think that I think that more so culturally speaking, it's combated these days because it's not as prevalent as it used to be. It's not as worrisome as it used to be. I don't. It's very rare that I've heard of like somebody losing a job to somebody because of the color of their skin. Usually, it is best guy gets it. But I could be wrong there. Full disclosure, been wrong before. So as it stands, yeah, it's I would like to see it repealed. You know, I think at the end of the day, legally speaking, or really my biggest issue with keeping is it's trying to say that a black person can't get work.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a problem with that statement because it's clearly not true.
Well, it's almost like saying you're not good enough on your own, so we're going to give you a leg up.
So Big Brother has to give you a leg up. Yeah, exactly.
I've seen the arguments that like it's a form of reparations, and to be honest, like I don't see it being necessary anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not 1960.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's current year.
We have the Equal Rights Act now.
Yeah,
like or not the Equal Right, the Civil Rights Act. So legally, you can't discriminate.
Yeah, exactly. And culturally speaking, we're like what, one of the, if not the least racist, we're one of the least racist nations in the world. Like it's not really a thing that much here.
No,
we tend to take racists and like push them out of society.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yes. I mean, we were just talking earlier about the scarlet letter that that the racist label is. If somebody gets it, and the wrong people find out about it, you're done. You're fucking done. There's not really anything you can do to defend yourself once someone labels.
Yeah.
So no, we absolutely do not tolerate that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think repealing it would also open the door to arguments in favor of like financial reparations too.
Yeah, but like they're pushing for that anyway.
That's
not a
true.
winner.
No, no, absolutely not. Well, what was the college that recently voted for a tuition increase for reparations? Was it Georgetown?
I think. I don't remember. I want to say it was Georgetown, but I could be wrong on that one.
Very, very touchy subjects, but no, I would love to see affirmative action repealed. Honestly, I think it's racist.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's racist.
All right, let's move on to the chat here.
Well, not the chat yet. We do have
Twitter.
a Twitter. From our Dank Horse Elric. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
In the wake of the BioWare expose. Okay, never mind.
That's entertainment.
Entertainment. Yep. I didn't read the label beforehand, so
okay. No worries. Okay.
Let's go to the chat now.
So there was one that I want to hit. Somebody asked me about net neutrality. I want to talk about that real quick. Why do people think, especially Review Tech USA, that we need net neutrality? Because a lot of people are really worried about corporations creating basically fast lanes and slow lanes for specific websites and things like that. Valid concern. Do I think that would necessarily happen? Not really, because it's not really a very good. Not unless unless you don't like doing business, because that's a really, really bad ethical decision to do that to someone. It's like, well, if you subscribe with us, you get higher Netflix speeds. Like, let's say that you've got Verizon and Comcast in the area. If you subscribe with Verizon, you get higher Netflix speeds than Comcast does. With Comcast, you get higher Hulu speeds and like a discount on Spotify or something. Like, that's the sort of competition you would see in most normal scenarios. Provided we had a more open market when it comes to telecommunications. I'm saying this as someone who used to sell telecom. Telecommunications is overregulated. It's districted, or at least it was. Those have been alleviated after Ajit Pai took over. The bundling part of a decision made during the Obama administration is part of what put us in the current system. It's why Comcast has been able to run over people for so long, myself included. When they did away with that.
How many times we said fuck Comcast?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Net neutrality is supported by Comcast for a reason. And nobody ever thinks about that for a split fucking second. It is because they misused it to basically corner the market in certain areas. Here in Illinois and south of Chicago, it's Comcast or bust, or Mediacom when you get really far south. Rates have gone down in my area because now we have several ISPs. And on top of that, whoever owns the lines, if those lines can be rented by other companies. now. They couldn't before because of the anti-bundling law that was put through, or regulation that was put through during the Obama administration. So this idea that we need it is ridiculous. The lack of faith in a free market really bothers me, because especially in the information age, companies drop in stock and, value a lot more than they used to whenever word got out there. See One Electronic Arts, who, by the way, 5 years ago, everybody thought was going to be this big monolith forever. So, and we'll talk about EA in the entertainment podcast, but that's I never supported net neutrality. I always thought it was silly.
Focus on getting the fucking infrastructure up there.
Yeah.
Like there is no reason that we need to be paying for the low internet speeds that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fucking reason.
Yeah, and part of the reason that we don't have fiber optics in most areas is because the market was fucking closed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ridiculous.
We're finally getting fiber internet in my hometown.
Yeah.
Finally.
There is no reason it shouldn't be everywhere at this point. The only reason it isn't is because of the fucking FCC.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. Literally 20 minutes away from my hometown has had fiber internet for 5 years now? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting it after all this time. Like just this year. It's insane.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on. Hatman, I'll let you pick the rest of the questions.
All right, cool. Let's see. There was one that I saw that I really liked. Here we go. Physics Hypernova asks, do you think our universities will ever move to the center politically? I'm almost finished with my PhD in physics, and I feel like I have to keep my libertarian views a secret. Yeah, I know that feel. Imagine being in, or getting a liberal arts degree and having to keep your views effectively a secret. Oh boy. I think it's a matter of time, but I don't think it'll happen any time in the near future. But I think the culture will eventually move back to the center.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. It's going to be a while.
Yeah, it's going to take time.
It'll take time, but once the culture does, then the universities are going to follow. The media is going to follow. Then everything's going to get better in that regard. You won't be pissed off as much. But it's gonna take a bit. It's going to take a bit. Good question.
Indeed.
Okay. Hardball Entertainment has been asking this for a bit. Do we think Trump will successfully establish the U.S. Space Force before his second term is up, or will it be up to his successor?
Thinking successor. That's a big budget increase right there. I think that some maneuvers are going to have to be made with the current budgeting. I think that we're going to need to finally start cutting down on entitlements before we can really afford another branch of the military.
Yeah,
you have to keep in mind, entitlements take up more of our budget than the military actually does right now.
Not to mention, you're going to have a really, really good sales pitch for it just to get the chunk of change that you want.
Yeah,
and that would be like a years-long plan, because you can't just propose it and then get the money for it. Like it's going to take a while to get like everything hashed the fuck out, especially separating that from what we already have in the Air Force. So, Vraptor 19 asks, what do we think about the EU banning memes?
It's tyrannical. It's complete total tyranny.
Imagine being so butthurt by anti-EU memes that you ban memes. And I can't help but believe that the whole argument that, oh, this is about copyright is a sham, and it has a lot to do with suppression of speech.
Yeah.
Because, God, who was it that was trying to shut down was it Viacom? Like years ago when YouTube was still kind of small, they sued YouTube for copyright infringement, and it turns out like they were trying to take down videos that were critical of Viacom.
Yes. It's always how it starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Bullshit. Bullshit all the way down. Daniel Garza's got a good one. Why are big cities such horrible places morally and politically? There seems to be nothing but high crime, corruption, and far left views from New York City, Detroit, Chicago, etc.
Starts with a D, ends with Democrats.
Democrats?
No, Democrats. We're not going down that cringy road. The
Democrats means Doom Guy gets to fight them.
Yeah, but no. In all seriousness, though, the an issue that we have had with these areas is that they're heavily corrupt, and Democrats have a tendency to have very corrupt governments, you know, and it's just a loop, and yet nobody ever just stops electing them. It's ridiculous.
How was anyone who may have lived around or in New York around the time Rudy Giuliani was mayor, was it nearly as it is? Because that's like the only Republican mayor of a large city in the last 20 years that I can think of.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you're probably right. He's probably the only one.
Oh, I cut out apparently. Nearly as bad as it is now. Like, was New York under Rudy quite the shithole that it's become under Bloomberg and whoever the mayor is now. Koopa's Revenge Home says, no, it was much better. Daniel Parker says, Rudy cleaned up New York City really well. Well, there you go. I guess that answers that one.
I hate to turn down a patron, but Black Comet in the patrons Discord just put in this long... we've got like 2 minutes left.
Yeah, save that for the overflow. Save that for
and
overflow.
I can't do a very good Donald Trump impersonation. It actually hurts my throat.
I could maybe, but... okay, one more. Let's answer this one. Crystal Wing 2149 asks, thoughts on Brexit being delayed until Halloween?
Criminy.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think they're trying to push it out as far as possible to basically kill it in committee. I do not see a reason for Theresa May's absolute lunacy. If she honestly believes that she is going to deliver Brexit, there's no excuse for this shit. So I can only attribute it to malice.
She never wanted Brexit in the first place.
She said she was going to deliver it. So far, it doesn't look like it.
No.
So yeah, no. I think they're trying to weasel their way out of it.
I would completely agree with that.
All
right, folks. Well, we do appreciate you being a part of the podcast. I want to thank once again, who was it that sent a rather large donation? It was... Load, damn you. Ricky Joya sent that to me. So, yes, I will definitely be listening to that audiobook. And once the funds enter the account, so I can buy it. So, 'cause I actually don't own the Drawing of the Three. But yeah, I'm gonna be very happy to do that one. And then for those of you who have donated for me to watch Rising of the Shield Hero and JoJo, I've been watching Rising of the Shield Hero so far. I might start on Golden Wind in the very near future. We'll see. I've been kind of rewatching some other stuff and so on and so forth. So, all right, but stick around. We will be discussing some Star Wars stuff with the next podcast because of the new trailer that has been dropped. Plus, a new Star Wars video game trailer was dropped today before the podcast. We'll be discussing that as well. So stick around. But until then, my name is Micah Curtis.
Also known as the Hatman.
We appreciate you guys being here. Dave's Fold.
Dave's Fold.